Hello everyone, Simon here. Welcome back to our Architecture of Dishonored 2 playthrough. Today we are gonna look at the Dolores Michaels Bank. DM Dolores Michaels Bank. It's right there. We are in Upper Cyria District, here behind this courtyard. So that's the bank. It doesn't look much like a bank, does it? So what should a bank look like? So a bank should look rich and secure. Because if you were gonna give money to somebody to take care of, you wanna feel like they know what to do with money, and so if they look rich, you get the impression that they understand how to manage money. And then if the building looks secure, then you feel like this is a safe place to put your money, right? So a bank should look rich and secure. And this, I mean, it's a little bit rich in the sense that there's a lot of details. Look at that. There's a lot of like little details. A lot of details on the columns. But the fact that it's just like monochrome, there's only one color, well, maybe it's not as rich as it could be. You know what I mean? Like if it's like more colorful, maybe it'll be more impressive. And then on the security side, so a lot of buildings that function as security buildings or like fortress buildings, you wouldn't have windows on the ground floor because windows are a security liability, of course. I mean, like the easiest way to break into a building is to smash a window and jump through. So here we have these little like security bars on the door, on windows, which okay, but it's not that hard to get a hacksaw and just cut through that, right? There's like one point there, one point there, one point there and there, and then once you cut through those, you're in. Like you've passed the bars, you smash the window, and then you go. So having like windows on the ground floor is not conducive to making this place feel safe. Now it might still be safe, right? The windows might be placed in places that are not the secure part of the building. For example, in a lot of modern banks, like if you go to a bank, they might have like big glass doors at the front. Well, first of all, the glass, okay, it doesn't look secure, but it's probably bulletproof glass, right? But even if you can break the glass, usually like there's like the glass front, and then there's the tellers, and then behind the tellers is the secure area, and that's where the big security is. Like the teller area and behind the teller area is the big secure area. So the fact that the front bit of the bank is not secure, that's okay. It's not too bad. Like this is the public area anyway. Like this is where the public goes into the bank to to deposit their money. And it's only after you get past that front layer, then you have the vault behind it. That has to be super secure. So the fact that it's not actually secure in the front is probably not a big issue, but you want it to feel secure. it's not just whether it actually is secure, you want the customer to feel like their money is in a safe place. And this, I don't know if it feels safe as much as it just feels like a lot of ornamentation. It doesn't feel like a fortress, if it makes sense. Like it needs like thicker walls and smaller windows, so it looks like a fortress. Then it'll feel safe, if that makes sense. Anyway, I'm just gonna criticize the external facade of this bank. So before we go in, that's the front door, of course. Before we go in, we can go up to the roof. I'm gonna go up to the roof. So in the game, you play through this level. The point of this level is you have to break into the bank, break all the way into the vault, and steal something inside the vault. So it's a bank heist game. And because it's a bank heist level, it's designed so that it is possible for you to break into this place, right? And as a consequence, as we walk through the bank, you will find that there are a number of security liabilities that really shouldn't be there, but they are there for gameplay purposes. Because if the bank really was secured, then you couldn't have a video game where you break into the bank. See what I mean? Like, it'd be too hard even for a game. So for example, this lift, and then this roof area, massive security liability. It's just an elevator there. Why is there an elevator there? Right? I think they're painting the wall or something. But yeah. So the roof, let's see. There are a number of things I want to point out. So on the roof there's some chimneys and some air ventilation equipment. Right, that's pretty standard. Over here on this side of the bank we have this little semicircular bit that sticks out over a cliff, I think. Let me just carefully lean out here, try not to die. Alright, so there's a little semicircular bit that sits right on the edge of the cliff, and then there's a little valley, or there's a big valley, that goes down to the city there, right? Okay. And then behind the bank there's a cliff. In fact, it goes into the cliff quite quickly. A lot of the bank, it implies that a lot of the bank is built into the cliff. That's good, because, you know, if it's solid rock, then that provides you more security in the places where you would guess where the vault is, deep inside the bank, right? So it looks like the bank is just kind of dug into the cliff face. I have noticed that the expansion, the Death of the Outsider and the Cyria Gardens area, a lot of the building is just like sitting right up against the cliff like this. I don't know why. Like, the level designer who's in charge of the expansion, they do this in a lot of different places, and that's not how things work. This is not how buildings work. You can't do this. You can't. You don't just jam your building against a cliff like this. First of all, cliffs are not stable, right? Rocks like that, eventually that's gonna fall down, right? That's not gonna stay there forever. Erosion is a thing, earthquakes are a thing, storms are a thing, flooding is a thing, and so eventually the rocks are gonna fall off, and bits of rock are gonna fall off every now and then onto your building, and that's, we're gonna break this glass, for example. And secondly, like, how would you do this? Is this concrete? Like, do you just pour the concrete directly against the cliff? Yeah, no, that's not how buildings work. So I don't know, something about the level designer in this game who thinks that this is how architecture works, and it really isn't. It really is not how architecture works. You would need like flashings to make sure the water doesn't seep in behind the wall too much. Like, you want the water to, like, you know, flow out and into a gutter. You don't want it to, because if there's like a tiny gap between the cliff face and your building's like smashed right up against it. But there's still going to be like a tiny gap, it's like a seam, and then if the water kind of seeps into there, then it's going to damage your building underneath. Yeah, this is not how architecture works. That's not how that works. That's not how that works. No, seriously, that's not. Is this metal? There's a metal thing that's half buried in the rock. That's not how metal works. That's. Anyway, that's not how construction works. And also the bank is half buried inside the cliff. There is a glass ceiling here. We will see the atrium underneath once we go into the bank. So just keep in mind that the glass ceiling is almost right up against the rock. So anything behind the glass ceiling, that's basically inside the cliff. Keep that in mind. We do have a number of entrances into the bank from the roof. Again, a security liability. We're not going to take this, but we will find this door on the other side from the inside later on. We have ventilation equipment. Okay, I think that's all there is to say about the roof. There's this little sloping bit here at the main entrance. So we're on top of the main entrance. Yeah, no, I think that's it. Okay, let's go back down. And we'll go in the front door. Oh, hey, don't do that. Cancel that. Right. Oh wait, no, don't do that. Put that away. Alright, back down and inside. What is this? Hold on, there's a little alleyway in between there. Curious. I guess I can say it here. When we get inside, there's a map inside. You know what? Let me just go inside. And we'll look at the map inside. Right. Inside the bank, this is the grand entry. What is that? Double height entry up the stairs. See, this is impressive. Going up the stairs, like it's kind of imposing, right? And then here, there's the glass ceiling there, right? So the inside matches the outside, in this part at least, so that's good news. And then, so everything behind here, this, like from this point onwards, this is inside the cliff. So everything behind here is inside the cliff. Right. So, right underneath the entry lobby, we have the tellers, right, if you want to do withdrawals and deposits, right here. So these doors are open, but they are actually secure doors. If you see little lights above the door, it means they're secure door. There's a special security mechanism that opens and closes those. There's a light there too, so the front door can also be secured. And then that door can also be secured. Alright, let's look at the map. Law and maps. Maps. Lobby. So we are here, number 3, main entrance. And this is the glass ceiling is above here, above. So from here, above here, and above here. So that staircase matches that staircase, matches that staircase, if you want to like line them up. Teller counter, number 1, teller counter is there. Unlabeled. Number 5 goes to the basement. Number 2 goes to the inner atrium. So remember the cliff is basically here. So everything behind this point is dug inside the cliff. And then inside the cliff there's also an inner atrium inside the mountain. Number 2, this goes up to number 2. There's a couple of rooms up here, unlabeled again. Continuing upstairs, a couple of unlabeled rooms, and then conference room. And then number 7 is rooftop access. Okay, so this is the lobby area. Let's take a look around. Restrooms. The restrooms are unfortunately not as well maintained as you might hope. So as I said before, you want your bank to look like it has a lot of money. Because you don't want to put your money in a place that looks like they're running out of money. If a bank runs out of money, you're going to lose your money, right? You're going to lose your savings. So the last thing a bank can afford is to look poor. And unfortunately, this looks poor. What is going on? Why don't you fix your floors, man? Yeah, no, especially this is like the public restroom for people coming in to the bank, right? I'm really not sure why like this is in poor condition. It really shouldn't be. Like it's a really bad idea to for a bank to look poor. I mean everything looks fine out here, right? Nothing's broken. There's not even any like stains or dirt or much. Well, I mean, there's a few stains. Not a lot of stains. Right? Everything looks great, clean, tidy. Yeah, not sure why the restroom is like that. Okay. So over here, we have the teller office and the boiler room beyond here. That doesn't really need any explaining. So we have some office space back here. I guess these guys process the deposits and withdrawals. We have documents. And then here are the tellers, right? And then at this point, behind the teller, is the lobby door control. This button literally activates all the doors. So I press that, and now that's closed. Can I see it? Right, so that's closed, and that's closed. So this one button opens and closes all the secure doors. That seems like a security liability. To have that control. And it's also right out here, right? It's not that hard to get into here. I mean, this is behind a secure door, but it's not that hard to get into here. And remember the windows. The windows in the front facade of the buildings are these windows. Remember how there were these little thin security bars outside? You could just like hacksaw through those without too much trouble, and then break the glass, and then hop in here, and then you're immediately in this space. Press that button, everything opens, and the whole bank is open for you to loot. Seems like a security liability. Oh, and then this bit here. There's a couple of windows here, but remember, on the outside, on that side of the building, there was that semicircular bit that stood on a cliff. Why are there exterior windows here? Because this is not the semicircular bit. So the exterior doesn't quite match the interior. Right? So that's odd. I don't know if that's an oversight. Okay, so let's what are these machines? Are these printers? Wait, they have printers? Cool. Or are these just dispensers? Paper dispensers? I'm not sure what those are. Alright, so back here is the boiler room. Come back through here, there are lockers, I guess, for the staff. And then the boiler room's down here. Those are the boilers, and then there's like some electrical equipment down here. And then there's like sewers down here. So this is one of the ways to break into the bank if you're playing the game. I stored all the people in that little corner there, if you're wondering. So in terms of security and banks, the fact that the boiler room is through the same area as the tellers. So when you want to have a secure building, one way to have security is to compartmentalize all the pieces. Right? You want to have as few interlinks as possible, because the more interlinks there are, the more points of vulnerability there are, right? So the fact that the boiler room comes into the teller area means that if somebody breaks into the boiler room, they can get to the teller area and open the security. If from the boiler room, let's say for example, it doesn't come into this space, but rather maybe it comes up here, and then maybe there's like a doorway here, which is not connected to that space, then somebody breaking into the boiler room would not be able to further break into the rest of the bank. Does that make sense? Like, in order to, like, security, your building is more secure if like each thing is kept separate. Like each area is kept separate, and then there's like one point of security into each area. And you can't go from one area to another area without going back to the main security, if that makes sense. Or like the main hub area, which is this atrium. So anyway, just some security concepts if you're into designing banks, I guess. We'll go into there last because that goes into the inner atrium. Over on this side we have this is so this, for example, there's a secure door here which goes upstairs. There's a secure door here that goes into the inner atrium. And then there's this secure door here which joins this space with this space. So this just goes around and then loop like this. Like, why? Why is this door here? There's no reason for this door to be here. This doesn't serve any function. Because if you can get in, like if you want to come in here, just go through that door. If you want to go through there, just go through the other door. There's no need for a third door here. But what this does is this provides a security vulnerability for anyone who wants to break in. Because now, if you break into one of these, either this one or that one, you can also break into the other one. Does that make sense? So like the more doors there are, and the more interconnections there are, like the easier it, or it's like the less safe it is, right? So instead of you're forced to break through this door, if you can't break through this door, but you can break through this door and that door, then you can also get into that area. So like there are now two ways to get into that space instead of just one. And so now like anyone who tries to break it has more options. That's what I'm trying to say. So like these interconnections you really should eliminate if you want to make a secure building. Anyway, up on the second floor we have mortgage and loan offices, which is up here. Interesting. So deposits and withdrawals are downstairs. Mortgages and loans are up here in a separate area upstairs. This is actually kind of interesting because it means that if you want to borrow money, you go to a different part of the bank, which is more private. And usually that's a good thing because people usually don't want other people to know if they need to borrow money, right? Because the implication is if you need to borrow money, then you're poor. So people usually don't want other people to find out that they're poor. And so you have a more private area of the bank deal with loans, so that people taking out a loan don't have to feel embarrassed if they're, you know, because they're going to be seen applying for a loan. Alright, so this is like loans and mortgages office. Very good. And then up here we have something. I couldn't figure out what this room is, to be honest. At first glance, it might just be like some offices, right? Like you have like tables and things there. But then there's this. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then there's like a little bench thing here. It looks like it should be a teller. It looks like, you know, I'm the customer and then I'm interacting with bank staff on the other side. And then this little screen here is for security, it looks like. But it doesn't actually provide any security, because if I want to punch someone in the face, I can just come back here and punch them in the face. So that screen doesn't actually provide this person any security at all from an angry customer. And then there's that door, which I don't know where that leads. So I have no idea what this room is. I don't know what these things people do. And then back here, this balcony overlooks the teller area, which again, I talked about, you want to eliminate the interconnections. Like that down there is secure. I mean, this is okay. You might think, oh, well, I mean, what are you going to do, jump off? Yeah, I'm going to jump off. If somebody's going to break into your building, they're not going to mind jumping off, they can just climb down there and then access the main security controls of your doors. Again, there's this like possible interconnection between two different secure spaces, and so now there's like a second back door that somebody can use to break. If they break into one secure space, then they also have access to the other secure space. The reason there are so many security liabilities is because the point of the game is to break into the bank and break through everything. So it's, for gameplay reasons, I get that. It's just that, you know, it doesn't make much sense as a bank, right? I guess I should talk about the ornamentation. Everything looks fine, really. I mean, I don't have too much to say. It's fairly well ornamented. It looks rich, right? It looks wealthy. There's like statues and things. The wallpaper's pretty clean. Paintings and statues. Everything looks very convincing, right? I mean, if you come in here, you might think, oh, this bank looks like they're doing good business. I mean, it looks like they're making a lot of money. Alright, continuing upstairs. over here we have this room. Oh, we have peeling wallpaper in here. That's not good. So this, if we judge by the various engineering drawings scattered about, and if we judge by some of this equipment, this appears to be the engineer's office, and in fact they have a bed back here. I guess they live here. I guess the engineer lives here. So there's the Clockwork Soldiers diagram. Yeah, now why is there food here? Does the engineer literally live here full time? When we go into the vault, we will find that it is actually a very complex, mechanically complex vault. The story is that the vault was designed by Bobby Jindal. Remember Bobby Jindal? The guy who lived in the Clockwork Mansion? Yeah, the inventor. The mad scientist inventor was the person who designed the bank vault here. And as a consequence, like the Clockwork Mansion, the vault is ridiculously complicated, ridiculously over-engineered, and actually not very practical. But we'll talk about that when we get to it. But the point is here that because the bank vault is so complicated and mechanically complex, they need a full-time engineer on site to keep it running. So this is where the engineer works. And their full-time job is just to keep that complicated vault mechanism operating. Alright, so over here we have the top floor of the bank pretty much, because the roof is up there, right? So we're at the top floor, and through here we have... Oh, can you read that? Rubia Campos, Operations Manager, Vespa Bristow, Liaison to the Crown. Liaison to the Crown. The Crown has a special liaison, so this office has 2 people working in it. I presume this is the General Manager's table, which would mean that this is the liaison to the Crown. Yes, there's the liaison to the Crown. I'm not sure why the Crown would have a liaison full-time in the bank. Not that I know too much about banking. I guess this bank does a lot of business with the Crown. Very fancy office, and there is a bit of a meeting area here. Very good. Through here, alright, come back out. The office has 2 entrances. This is back at the stake. The staircase is back there, and this is the atrium, by the way. So here we have a meeting room. Do they call it a meeting room? Conference room. Boy, the conference room has a lot of wood paneling. This is probably the most expensive room in the building so far. Look at this table. Look at that fancy wooden table. Alright. You know, I don't think there are actually that many rich people in this bank. This bank is not that big, by the way, if you think about the size of the building. Unless this is like a branch, or the bank has other branches elsewhere. I'm just looking at how many chairs there are here. I mean, you would assume that, okay, they have a board meeting here or something. And the board has apparently 13 people in it. The bank doesn't look that big. It doesn't look like they need a 13-person board meeting. But anyway, here it is, conference room. Oh, look at the wood paneling on the ceiling as well. And then back here we have a storage area. All of a sudden, the quality of the ornamentation drops precipitously. And we have a door to the roof access. We're not going back out. Alright, so that's the front area of the bank. Let's go back down. I'm just thinking, like, the public don't come up here very often, right? Yeah, no they don't. It's behind a secure door and everything. There's a lot of fancy decorations in the part of the bank that isn't open to the public. I mean, look, if you... Okay, right. So if you have a bank, if you design a bank, you want to impress your customers. So obviously you put ornamentation in the parts of the bank where the customers go. Would you also have fancy ornamentation like in the manager's office where the customers don't go? I don't know, maybe you would, maybe you won't. Another roof access, again, nothing notable about that door. Let's go back down. The mortgages and loans are behind a secure door. I'm just wondering... I mean, mortgages and loans should be open to the public. So I guess like this door would be closed. And then the door to the inner atrium is closed, but this would be open because otherwise how would... Unless you only let people in by a special appointment. I guess you would only let them in by appointment. But then once they wander up here, there's no further security between here and the manager's office. Right, you see what I'm thinking? What I'm thinking is, if I want to break into the bank... Oh, is this a secure door? Oh, okay, this is a secure door. Okay, never mind. So there's a secure door here. Alright, so the public can't just wander up into this area. Okay. In fact, there's a button here. Oh, there it is. Secure door. Secure door, but the button's right there. So if you... shouldn't that be on the inside? The button should be on the inside of the secure area, not on the outside of the secure area. Why is the button on the outside? You're locking in your manager, but you're allowing anyone in from the public to go to open the door. The button's on the wrong side, you guys. Okay, let's not worry about that too much. Alright, so this is the public area. Let me just look again at the ornamentation. Yeah, no, I feel like the ornamentation is a little bit more impressive inside the manager's area and in the boardroom than down here. I feel like if we have more wood paneling down here, I would think that the bank is richer than it is. Right, this is kind of monochrome. And it's not a lot of color. There's not even a lot of contrast. It's just a white stone. Okay, so through here, this is towards the inner atrium. What does that say? No admittance except by appointment. Alright, so this is high security area back here. We have a whole long corridor that is mostly just security. So these are security devices. If you come in here unauthorized, they will zap you and you will die. Up here, not sure what this is. This bags. This is like the mail clerk. I guess probably the mail clerk. Oh, back here, before I forget, sanitation. So there's a side door here. Sanitation. So this is like where you take out the trash, basically. The trash exit, surprisingly, is not where the boiler room is, which you might expect. But it's behind here, inside the secure area. The back door goes directly into the secure area that then goes into your inner atrium. You understand, right, that this is a massive security liability. Why does this not go into this space? Or even just straight into this space? Because that should be a public space, not a private space. Right, that should be, like, this is an insecure entrance. It shouldn't be opening into a secure area. Alright, so gameplay reasons. But you would never do that in a real bank. More office space back here. In fact, I don't know what this is for. I think this is just for gameplay. It's for you to dodge the security things. Like, this is completely blocked off, right? So you can like crouch down here and dodge the electrocution devices. There are rooms back here. If you want to like pull those back. They do that, if you're wondering. And the same thing on this side, right? So you have the security thing, and then you have maintenance parts for the security thing. And then after all that security, this is the inner atrium in here. Alright, let's go look at the map. Inner atrium. We are at 1. We came in from the lobby. So the bank has like a front half and a back half. Oh, right. Now, before I do this, remember how we should be inside a cliff? There are windows, and there's lights coming in, even though we are inside the cliff. Again, I think that's an oversight. Unless the cliff is not very thick, but that can't be right. Because look, the cliff starts here. No, we should be inside. This should be solid rock. There should be no lights back here. Alright, back to the inner atrium. We come in here, there's this completely unlabeled space. And then upstairs, there's a balcony all around, and then 4 security office, 5 vault controls. So this is the highest security area where you control the vault. The vault is this thing, by the way, this circular thing right in the middle. Here, and then here, that's the vault. And then 2 to 3, the director's office is at level 3. Level 4, there is a vault maintenance area. And then this is -1. In the basement, there is a archives and lockboxes area down in the basement. So the vault is in the middle of the space. Here we are in the atrium. The vault is there. It's hanging in the air. So what the vault can do is you can raise it up to the director's office, where the director can access it. Or you can lower it down to the basement, where it can also be opened in the basement. And it's an elevator thing that moves up and down. Why? Why would you do that? First of all, there's two possible accesses, so that it's already a security liability. Secondly, it moves up and down. So the fact that you have to lift it up and down means that it's not going to be as heavily armored as if you simply bury the safe in the ground, right? Because if you have to lift it up, it can't be that heavy. Otherwise, the equipment can't lift it up. And so it can't be that heavily armored. And it's mobile. Which means, I mean, theoretically, you can take the whole thing and just wheel the entire thing out of here, because the thing is like a self-contained box. It's not bolted to the ground, it's not buried in the ground. This is like not how you do vault. That's not how you do bank vaults. You don't have a bank vault that's literally a self-contained unit that you can move around, because that's not security. Anyway, that's Bobby Jin dodge for you. We do have one security arrangement that does make sense, is that the vault is right in the middle of the space, and the space is completely open all around. So if anything happens with the vault, everybody can see it immediately, right? So there's a lot of visibility. This is transparent, right? This is just behind like a steel mesh. So everybody can see where the vault is. So in that sense, that is some security, but it relies on there being people in the bank watching the thing all the time. If nobody's watching it, then the fact that it's visible doesn't make any difference, right? Alright, so down this space, there is a reception in the inner atrium. Interesting. And then there's like a little waiting area, and then there are tables here. And if we come down, there are desks. Office desks. More office desks. And then paperwork storage. And then more office desks all the way around. This says Esteban Avellanas, Financial Controller. Financial Controller. Right. So I guess these are all accountants or something. Probably. You'll notice that once we get to here, it's a lot less ornamental and a lot more security, right? There's a lot more steel. A lot less wood paneling. I mean, there's still some wood paneling. A lot more steel. So whereas outside, it looks rich, it looks welcoming, looks impressive. Back here, it just looks oppressive, right? It looks like a prison actually. Especially this arrangement, this panopticon arrangement. I talked about how, you know, the thing in the middle is most visible. The panopticon is this concept of a prison where you have a guard tower in the middle and then all the cells are all around, and so a single guard in the middle can see all the prisoners at all times. And that's the panopticon. Panopticon, seeing everything, like the all-seeing. That's a conceptual prison design. The idea is that vision is power, so if you can see them, you have power over them. That's the concept. Well, I mean, it's a very interesting concept, but in practice, it turns out that muscle is power. So if you have one guard, but all these prisoners, if all the prisoners decide to riot, one guard is not enough to stop the riot. So the fact that you can watch them, it helps a little bit. It doesn't help you that much if they decide to riot. Anyway. So the panopticon is an architectural concept. Not really all that practical, but the idea is to maximize visibility. And so then having the vault in the middle and everything else around it means that everyone can see the vault. I talked about that earlier. And that provides some security because you can see what's going on. If somebody's trying to steal the vault, you can see it. Back here we have a bit of a power source. The power source powers this barrier here, so there's a wall of death here, or is it a wall of light? It's a wall of light. So if that's powered, then you can't get through here without getting zapped. But since we are through here, let's go first down to the basement. So we should be deep inside the cliff, but again there's light coming in the windows. I have no idea why that is. Because we should be underground. Alright, so archives and lockboxes. You see these little things? These are also charged electrical points, and so if this was powered, the power point is back there. If these were powered and you step on it, you would get electrocuted. So there's active security down here as well. One of the access points for the vault is here. You can lower the vault to this point and access the vault down here. On the other side we have archives and lockboxes, right? We have this. I think these are the archives. Over here we have lockboxes. And then over here we have more archives. And then we have a bed and a basin and a dining table. No toilet though? No toilet. But there's a bed and like an office space. I think it is implied that the archivist lives down here. Like the person responsible for maintaining the archives and maybe also the lockboxes. They live down here. Not sure why. I mean, like in the engineer office upstairs, and now the archivist office down here, they both have beds. Do they really live here? Why would they live inside the bank? Like, why would they need to live inside the bank? Alright, well that doesn't make any sense, but so this lockboxes and archives. It's possible that this was the original vault of the bank. Like originally your valuables are kept here. And that maybe this contraption was a later addition. That's possible. Or it might not be. It might just be that the entire bank was built around the Bobby Jindosh vault. I'm not sure though, because Bobby Jindosh's mechanisms appear to be quite recent. Like if you think about the timeline, the bank seems older than Bobby Jindosh's contraptions, is what I'm trying to say. And so if the bank itself is older than Bobby Jindosh's contraptions, then this Bobby Jindosh contraption would have to be added to the bank after the bank was first built, is what it seems like to me. Like, because like all of Bobby Jindosh's stuff is completely pristine and completely new, right? There are no old Bobby Jindosh contraptions. There are no like broken or decayed Bobby Jindosh devices. So because all of his technology seems very new, that would have to mean that this vault was put in, it was retrofitted into the bank at a later time. In which case, before the vault was put into the bank would have to have another vault to keep valuables, and the only space for that is here, down here, the archives and the lockboxes. Right, so there's like lockboxes out here, and there's also lockboxes inside the vault. So that's possibly what this space is like the original vault of the bank before the new vault was put in. Coming back up. Alright, back to the ground level. Continuing up. To the security level. Security level has two halves. Out here is not security. Out here there's just an open balcony which doesn't really lead anywhere. I mean, there are these implied doors, but they're not open in the game, so we don't know what these things are. Offices, no access. Right. So I guess there are more offices? Not sure why that would be the case. Like, if this is the outer wall, why would there be a door here? Like, is there a wing? Alright, so there's a balcony here that in the game doesn't lead anywhere, but apparently there's more offices. What does that say? Same thing, offices no access. And then on this half of the balcony, there's the secure area. I mean, it's all open because I opened it. Security and administration and the vault control center. Security door here, and then the guy who controls the security door here. So this microphone speaks to this microphone, but they can't see each other. So they can only hear your voice, they can't see who you are. Seems like a security liability, because like they can't check if you're really you. And I don't know if it's reasonable to expect them to recognize everybody's voice either. So this is the guard that controls the door. This is the... like that opens and closes the door, right? Yeah, I don't know if that's plausible. Behind here... not too sure what this room is. Just got a bench on one side and then nothing else. Here we have the charging points for the Clockwork Soldiers. I just realized we haven't seen any Clockwork Soldiers in this series because I've destroyed all of them. So the Clockwork Soldiers are robots that will try to kill you if they catch you, right? And here are the broken Clockwork Soldiers on the ground. So they recharge themselves in this little alcove. Back here we have lockers, a couple of beds. This is like the guard lockers. This place is filled with guards, by the way. We have like guns and bullets and all that. So this secure area has a lot of guards in it, and then there's some storage, paperwork in here. There's a desk too, I guess somebody... Oh, wait a minute. This opens up there. Are these the security reports? Like, does this guy file security reports, maybe? And then next to it we have Alexander Pina, Chief of Security, right? This is the Chief of Security's office. Everything seems quite reasonable to me. And then further along, this is probably like a rest area for the guards. They're playing some sort of games over here, stacking glasses. And then we have the Vault Control Center. So the Vault Control is right next to all the guards. So this level is basically where all the guards hang out. And then we have the Vault Control here. At the moment, the vault is secured. So can you see that? Kind of. That's the vault there. You have the option of lowering it down to the archives. So it's an elevator basically. So you can lower it down to the archives, where you can open the door down at the archives. Or alternatively, you can lift it up to the director's office. So then it goes up and up and up. And it goes to the director's office. Or to secure it, you just have it hanging in the air. Is the vault really secure if it's hanging in the air? I don't know. Again, like, everybody can see it, sure. And if anybody tries to break in, somebody will see it. I just think, like, this thing is movable, and it's kind of self-contained. I don't know. It doesn't seem very secure to me. Alright, let's keep going. We can go up to the director's office. Where's the door here? So we're back on the balcony level. And then up the staircase. And the director's office is here. The director is Dolores Michaels, so it's called the Dolores Michaels Bank. And Dolores Michaels' office is here. Look at this space. A lot of glass. Almost cathedral-like, isn't it? Very curious. And sloping roof. That's interesting. Remember, we're in Karnaca, and Karnaca doesn't rain, and so almost all the roofs in Karnaca are flat. Not here though, the roof here is sloping. But more than that, we should be inside the cliff. We should be inside the cliff, so I have no idea why there are windows and skylights while we're inside the cliff. It could be that we are high up enough that we are, you know, above the top of the cliff now. I'm not sure that we are though. I think we still should be inside the cliff, based on the exterior. So I don't know about these windows. I can't see outside, so there's no way to confirm or disprove whether we are in the cliff or not. A little strange. A lot of metal in here, isn't there? The roof is the ceiling and the roof is metal. Like the metal, it feels like high security, right? I was talking about how there's a lot of metal outside in the security level. And here, it still looks like it's a lot of security, but somehow they made it fancy. It's security, but fancy architecture as well at the same time. Look at that. Very interesting. Interesting mix of like a little bit of decorative flavor, and then also high security. Alright, the vault is here. It's already been unlocked. It only requires one key to unlock, by the way. it's not secure at all! And then inside there are these things. So there's a bunch of safes. And that's it. There's 6 safes inside a cylindrical drum. And there's the vault. Yeah, I mean, okay, so I understand that it's like really elaborate and impractical because it's designed by Bobby Jindosh. But the fact that it moves up and down for no reason, it doesn't need to move up and down. Just have a vault in the ground. And then it's like it's circular, and there's only 6 safes in it, so it's not, you can't expand it ever, right? There's not that much storage. And it can't be that heavily armored because you have to lift it up and down because it can't be too heavy. It's just not a very good vault. I mean, it's very interesting in that it moves up and down, but it's just not very secure, is it? Alright, anyway. From Dolores Michaels' office, we have this little side area. She has her own bathroom. And then here, there's a public address or speakers. So I think she can address the entire bank from this room, if she wants to. And then this goes back out to the circulation. There's one more level upstairs. Up here is vault maintenance, authorized personnel only. So here are the machines for raising and lowering the vault, I guess. A lot of machinery. Another electrocution device. If you're not supposed to be here, that thing will zap you and you will die. And then underneath here, this is the vault. Right here is the vault. We can't break into it from the top right now. Alright, and then let's go back outside. And that's pretty much the entire bank. Let me go back to the main atrium and then I guess I can summarize what we see here. A lot of ornamentation. Is this the most ornamented room in the whole building? I think it is. But I don't think the public ever comes in here though. Yeah, there's no way you would let the public in here. This is where the vault is. So I guess Dolores Michael would go outside to meet anyone if she has to. Also, Dolores Michaels is like all the way at the very end of the building and she can't actually see anyone. So she can't keep an eye on her workers at all. Like she's just at the way in her own little office, all the way at the end of the building, completely disconnected from everything else that's happening outside in her own bank. And she just has to trust that everyone else is working and not like slacking off. Alright, here we are, back outside. So, let's summarize. Dolores Michaels Bank, what can we say about it? From the outside, and even in the inside, big, tall, impressive, quite decorative, right? It looks wealthy, it looks big, it looks secure, it looks like it's been here forever, right? There's no, oh, and that's the other thing, it looks like it's been here forever. So, you know, like the sense of security that you want for your bank also implies that, like, if it looks like the bank has been here forever, so that if the building looks like it's like several hundred years old or something, then that might also inspire confidence because, hey, the bank's survived so long, surely it will survive for another few hundred years and I won't lose my money right away. So like longevity, stability, wealth, right, and like solidity, security. Like these are the sort of things that you want to convey with the architecture of your bank, right? And this has most of it, right? If you just look at how the building looks, it sure looks impressive and secure and big and stable. However, if you actually examine the spaces, you will find that there are plenty of security liabilities and loopholes. And I think that's probably for gameplay reasons, right? As I said, this level of the game, your goal is to break into the vault. And so in order for you to be able to break into the vault, they have to have security vulnerabilities in the building. Otherwise the player can't actually break into the vault. Like if the bank is properly designed, then there should be no way for the player to break into the vault, no matter what they do, right? So they have to put in these liabilities in order for the gameplay to work. And so like the security doors, like you have buttons in the wrong place, you have the buttons on the outside instead of the inside. And then you have like ways to get into the security button when you really shouldn't have spaces that are connected. Like, oh, I mean, look. Let me just show you. So gameplay-wise, like we have this thing, right? And this thing allows us to teleport, right? But even if we don't, you just get a ladder or something. See that open window there? Okay, so from here we go into that open window, and then from here we drop down into that space, and then we press the button, and there you go. We open all the security doors. So that's how you're supposed to get through the gameplay, right? If you're in this area. And that's because like there's no security bars, you know, between the balcony and this space. And I pointed that out before. And so like these sorts of security liabilities, they're introduced into the architecture for gameplay reasons. But if you were building a proper bank, you would not have these. Like it would not be designed this way. Like you would compartmentalize the different parts of the bank. You would not have back doors that open into secure areas, right? You would have the back door open into the non-secure area, and you just wouldn't design things like this. So even though the bank looks like, I know, decoratively, superficially, it looks secure and safe and solid, if you analyze the spaces and how they interconnect, it's not secure at all. The bank also relies on a lot of active security, and again, in terms of gameplay, it's quite interesting. Now, you have these machines that try to electrocute you. You have to like dodge the machines and then unplug their power source so then you deactivate the devices so then you don't get zapped. And so then there's these like little puzzles where you have to like dodge the security and then unplug the machines. And so in terms of gameplay, it's very interesting. But in terms of architecture, you really shouldn't rely on active security that much. You should rely more on passive security, which is to say, you know, have the vault buried in the ground, only have one point of access, and then secure that one point of access. Instead of having a vault that can move up and down, and then you have 2 points of access, and so there's like 2 ways to break into the vault. There's multiple ways to break into the vault. You can get into the vault control. You can actually break the lift mechanism and drop the vault into the basement and break it open that way. Like if you just drop it and it just breaks open. It's not secure. So there are actually multiple ways to break into the vault in the gameplay, and of course in terms of gameplay it's quite interesting. It's, oh, we're breaking into a bank, wow. But it's like, it's not. You wouldn't actually design a bank with such vulnerabilities, right? So compartmentalization, make sure you keep your security spaces separate and have like multiple layers of security. Don't have them chained together sideways, have them chained, like have layers of security going in, but no connection sideways, if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense. So imagine like you have a set of rooms. Can I use a map? Like you would like have security go in, but you won't have any access across the spaces, if that makes sense. Wasn't there a map around here? I guess this is a map. No, yeah, okay, this was the best example. Like, you would have one security door going up the stairs, one security door to the inner atrium, but you would not have another door between the two, right? Because that's a security liability. And like, you know, you would have a security door to the offices back here, but you wouldn't have the boiler room go into this area. You have the boiler room come into this area. Anyway, I've talked about all this already. And finally, yeah, so minimize points of access, stop using so much active security and use passive security. Okay, that's it. That's all I have to say about the Dolores Michaels Bank. I mean, I guess in hindsight, it's inevitable because you're designing a bank for a game where your goal is to break into the bank. So of course the bank is gonna have security lapses. So you can't like actually design a proper bank. You have to design a bad bank, right? A bank that is easy to break into. And that's why we get what we have in the game right now. Alright, that's it. I'm gonna end this one here. In the next video is last video. The last video of the series, we're going up to Shindere Peak. Remember the big rock that overlooks Kanaka? So there's a silver mine up there. And the last level of the game is a mine. Upper Shindere North Mine is what it's called. So up on the top of the mountain in the mine is the next one. I'll see you there.